Definitely have that on vinyl. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I have that, Michigan,
Yeah. Same.
Age of Odds, and I think I have Seven Swans.
I think I might have Seven Swans also.
Oh, and I for sure, what's that?
I think I do too.
And I have Carrie and Lowell because I love that record.
I think I do too, and I'm too much of a weenie to listen to it because I don't want to be sad.
It's not that bad, man. It actually makes me feel warm inside.
The lowest for sale on the marketplace on Discogs is $32.23.
Oh shit!
For the CD,
that's not
nice.
bad.
The CD.
That's actually
you
good.
paid cheap for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more than I would have thought.
Let's see. Most of it is 40, 45, 56, 61.
All right.
You could throw one up for 40 and get a couple new games.
That's
man.
right. The buy new Top Shot moment, baby.
Stop. Get out
Randall
of that.
and his crypto art.
Get out.
NFTs.
Crypto man.
No.
Crypto man over here.
Zero fungibility, baby. Let's go.
It's gonna crazy.
Combine moments.
It's gonna
brother.
so bad.
All right.
Once everybody's sufficiently laundered their money, like
That's not my problem, John.
right, I know, but it will be once they're done, and you're stuck with.
What else happens on NBA Top Shot is not my business.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in Top Shot stays in
That's
Top
right,
Shot.
baby.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hello there.
And John Hines.
Hi there.
And we are back, as always, to talk about some video games. And, let's just get right into it. And I know, Randall, you and I talked a couple weeks ago, I think, about Self.
Yeah.
From our pals, Dev Dwarf, Matt Ugg, and Connor Grail. Just a really, really awesome kind of arcadey, bite-sized platformer. And when Randall and I talked about it, it was like, I don't know exactly. They consider like each kind of screen. It's kind of like a single screen, although there's a little bit of scrolling.
A little bit.
But I won't get too into the mechanics and whatnot. But you're basically getting to the end of each screen or level or whatever and then progressing along. And, it took like 10, 15 minutes to play through, I would say.
Yeah.
And they just released a new patch with a lot of quality of life improvements with especially for speedrunners. Like it has like a level select after you beat the game where you can go and like, let me pick and play and let me try to sharpen up and look for faster routes on these levels and stuff like that. But on top of that, they added in 5 new challenge levels.
Nice.
And oh boy, are they brutal.
Okay.
Like they are very, very challenging. And this was super fun. I think I mentioned when we talked about Self that like I jumped into the Discord that they have running over there.
Yeah.
And they were a bunch of the people that were in that Discord were hanging out, including Dev Dwarf, hanging out in the chat while I did a stream of the Self playthrough. And I just played through like the original game, which just took a few minutes, and then I played through all the challenge levels, and then I did actually a bunch of endless mode after that too. I got over 50 as my high score, although the high score on
really good.
Newgrounds leaderboards is like
Nice.
187 or something like that. So it's just like, okay, I don't have a chance on this, but it's really cool. It's like it's kind of, I thought it was just like, I think we talked about it just a tiny bit, Randall, but like it really kind of evolves as your score goes up. Like when you get to, I think 15 or 16, like the pattern changes of the double jump pickups that you can get, or like the double dash pickups, and then like eventually lasers get thrown into the mix, and like there's less of those little crescent moon double jump or double soul dash pickups that you can grab, and it's just like, it got intense. And it's funny because like Matt Ugg will post some of the like tweets and like little gifs of like, oh, here's the challenge level, and he just breezes right through it and shows how to do it. And even like seeing how it's done, I'm like, oh yeah, this shouldn't be that bad. And oh my God, even the first one was just really, really, really tough. But it was a lot of fun, like hanging out and with the people in the chat for once. Like I don't always have the chat open when I'm streaming, but for once, we've been trying to do that a little more when we're streaming. But yeah, it was just like, it was a lot of fun, and those levels super fun, although super challenging. But
So
I'm
you're
really
playing pretty tough games with the chat open.
I'm barely glancing at it. I'm just mostly cursing again. At one point, Dev Dwarf was like, "Yeah, when Kevin starts swearing, you know he's having fun." So, but yeah, it's really awesome. Like the new challenge levels are definitely worth checking out. I know we mentioned like this is another browser-based game. You can jump right in, and it seems like again they're planning on turning this into a full release. I think Dev Dwarf's what he said, he was at least planning on working on it, or they were at least planning on working on it for the next like 6 months or so.
Oh yeah. The potential's there in that core gameplay. I love it. Just like that core gameplay of, you jump off. It's basically controls like a platformer, but you have that little like ghost that kind of comes out from your body and then just shoots out like a slingshot into a direction. It just feels so good. They nailed the feel of that. So I'm glad they're continuing to flesh it out like this and turning that patch out so quickly.
Yeah. And one of the things I didn't realize, and we didn't mention this last time, but in the chat, people were mentioning that you can like cancel that ghost at a point. Like, so I thought you had to like hit it and then it has like kind of a limited range, like a radius essentially. And then like once you reach the end of that, you kind of get launched from that point.
Right.
But you can, once you hit the dash button, you can hit it again or hit the soul button. You can hit it again and it'll stop the dash and or at that point and launch you from there.
Okay.
So I was figuring out like, sometimes it's like definitely beneficial. And especially in those challenge levels, like almost a requirement to like launch yourself quickly. So you don't like launch too high and hit the spikes. You had to like kind of do a little quick double tap, but really, really, really cool stuff.
Oh yeah. It's great.
Yeah, we'll definitely be tracking this one as they continue to develop it.
Yes, sir.
So I did want to give a quick shout out too for another game that I actually found thanks to that Discord server again. And again, I don't think we've mentioned the name of it, but it's the Noisy Bug Discord. They just call it the Bug Cord. But Noisy Bug is like Lumoth and Dev Dwarf's kind of like company or not company, but their little like team or whatever. Development team. But yeah, I checked out this game called Clockwatch, and there's a developer, the developer of the game's Applove, and it's a really cool, like side-scrolling, really like chunky, bright, like popping pixels. It's got like a really like kind of bouncy feel to it. And like bigger sprites than usual. Like, these days we're kind of used to, or at least I'm kind of used to like the really tiny, like Celeste, almost like no features on their face or whatever. This is like really zoomed in and there's some minimal story going on. It seems to be like they have a few other games and it seems to be kind of linked into some of those. I don't know exactly. I haven't played any of their other games yet, but to the best of my knowledge, there's some like crossover in their like universes. There's some shared universe stuff.
That's always cool.
Yeah, but also like I was able to go into this one and play through it without, I'm sure I would have got more out of it maybe, but like I felt like I still felt like I got some cool, like the story still felt cool to me. Like it was very minimal, just like a few dialogue sequences. And I believe this is another game too, just like Self, that started out as a game jam entry and they decided like, hey, this is kind of cool. Let me flesh it out a little bit more. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're going to develop it beyond this because it does end on a to be continued cliffhanger, which is a little bit of a bummer because the mechanics are so cool. You basically, you can just run, you can jump, you can actually kind of cheese a double jump, which is really cool. It's actually like I mentioned it to the developer. I was like, hey, did you mean this? If you hit like jump really quick, like really quickly 2 times, you can do a double jump. Like if you wait too long, it doesn't work. And he was like, yeah, I added in coyote time, like where you can like jump after running off a ledge. And like, this was the byproduct of that. And he was like, I thought it was kind of cool. So I left it in.
Coyote time.
And I was like, that's awesome. So it's like Wile E. Coyote when he runs off the edge. I love that reference. It's pretty great.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, so you basically just run around. You have like this little wrench that you can whack enemies with, and you can actually like there's some bullets that get shot at you from turrets, and you can hit those back at the enemies based on like the timing. And then you basically have to like explore this little mini Metroidvania open world. You pick up a few new power-ups, and I guess it is a Metroidvania in that sense where you're getting some new power-ups to the point where you actually get these like Dr. Octopus like legs that you can like attach to stuff to like walk over spikes or like attach yourself to the ceiling that's why I was bummed. I was like, oh man, I really wish there was like gonna be more of this game, because you eventually get a dash move that you can kind of like jump and like dash your way in like a 360 degree range or 360 degree angle. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, had a lot of personality, a lot of charm. Really great, like kind of vibey music, really great final boss battle. Just like yeah, it's just so cool how you can stumble across all these indie developers and indie games. And I just had a ton of fun playing through this one. And it's like a 30, 40-minute playthrough, but
nice.
Highly recommended.
It's awesome.
But Randall, why don't I toss it over to you and see what you've been playing this week?
Yeah. So you're talking about a double jump. How about a triple jump?
Yes.
Ooh, yes. Perfect.
So I'm going to talk about Tanzer on the Sega Genesis. This is yet again another kind of homebrew retro thing. It's been kind of the niche that I've been exploring a little bit more deeply. Now that we're a little bit more settled in the house, I've got my old systems hooked up a little bit more easily, so that's offered up a lot more opportunity to play these games that I've been collecting in the background for a while. And Tanzer came out in 2019 by Mega Cat Studios, and it is at first glance and at first play definitely has some similarities to Strider on Sega Genesis, where kind of hack and slashy that way. Your main attack is very much kind of like a moon, half moon type of slash out in front of you. That's pretty far out in front of you,
like a big arc. Yeah.
Yep. And it's very fast though, and it almost is. I'd say more. It's like a run and gun without the gun. Like you're just like propelling forward and just like taking stuff out.
Nice.
And this game
like in the same way as Strider, because like Strider, you really do kind of like pick up momentum off the slopes and stuff. Like, does it have that kind of feel to it, or
not? There's not necessarily slopes at least in the levels that I've been able to see so far. Less of that sort of sloping mechanic. But I actually I like playing this game better than I like playing Strider. I'll say that much.
Okay.
It feels really good. It's like the speed of it and the feeling it like you're incentivized to be aggressive. And anytime that's the case in a game like this, it just puts me in the zone. Where like there's just like a small little feeling of like if I memorize this level or like get to know a level, I'm going to have more fun. Which is definitely a similar theme in a lot of these, Genesis and retro games. Like once I get the hang of what to expect, it becomes more and more fun to replay. And you're going to be replaying it because you only get 3 hit points and you're dead. No continues. Start over from the beginning. Yeah.
You're losing me on the cell now.
Not me.
You can buy, so at the end of stages, if you can make it to the end of stages, you can use the currency, the gold that you're picking up off of enemies or you're finding by breaking secret walls or whatever. And you can definitely get a certain amount of gold in each stage. Like enemies don't respawn. Either you hit them and got the gold or you didn't. Which is also kind of leads itself to, I bet there's some good speed running out there of this game. It just feels like it.
There's like speed running for every game. It's kind of crazy.
that's fair. But yeah, at the end of each stage, it kind of opens up this store menu where the main things that I've bought that I can afford to buy with the gold I've been able to get are these like transmutations that allow like special power-ups for your Tanzer character. The first one that you can afford to buy kind of puts up this kind of rock wall in front of you that can also damage things, but more importantly can interrupt and destroy the projectiles of enemies and bosses, which can help you not take hits so quickly.
Yeah.
And you can also upgrade those power-ups, which is nice. But another thing you can buy from that end of stage, which I actually haven't had enough gold to be able to do yet, is the ability to have a save state while the game is still on, so that if you died, you would start over from that level as opposed to all the way back at the beginning. So
Okay.
And would that like I don't know, you said you haven't bought it, but do you know if that like persists? Like if you is it only like a one-time continue, or would that be like anytime you boot it up?
So it would persist as long as the system's still on. Once you turn it off, that's no longer available to you, and you'd have to start from scratch again.
Okay, but with your console, would you be able to do like a save state and then like kind of cheese it that way?
Unfortunately, not. No, so I'm playing on the Mega SG, and that doesn't have save state capabilities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is never really been too much of a deal breaker for me because I kind of want to play it, quote unquote, as intended as much as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Within reason. Like, I'm not going to kill myself for it either. Like, I love save states on the Switch, so back and forth on that. But yeah, this is a game that, I've been playing in the background for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And then, like, I'd go to something else, like, NBA Playgrounds or whatever. But then I'd find myself coming back to this over and over and over again. Even though I'm playing the same stages, it just feels really good to play. They nailed the gameplay feel, which is not always necessarily the case with some of these homebrews. But I really like what I'm playing out of this from Megacat Studios. I've only seen like 8 or 9 out of what's apparently like 40 stages. So,
jeez.
God.
And I played a lot of it. Like, I've spent a lot of time with it, I'll say. I haven't necessarily played a lot of it, but...
Yeah, you've been chipping away at it,
40.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a long game for also like just a Genesis.
And for like a run and gun type game, yeah, it's like I always think of like retro games, like 8 levels or 8 worlds. That's kind of just standard fare.
And like, there's the soundtrack's really great. It's kind of got like an energetic, like I guess I'd say like a techno type of soundtrack. I guess the conceit is you're supposed to be like a ballerina. That's where like the agility comes into play, and you're kind of doing like somersaults all over the place. But you kind of look like an alien in like a power suit or something.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and the first stages are all in like an Old West motif, so it's a really interesting mix of different aesthetics that way. But it works,
So is there like a continuity and theme between like these levels, like, or do all of them like are all 40 like completely distinct in terms of like backgrounds or environment or anything?
There's a continuity in theme so there's like, at least in the first level, there's essentially like 3 or 4 stages, and they're all set in a time period which is like the end of the 1800s, kind of like Wild West in the US type of, where you're taking out like horse-drawn carriages that are shooting bullets at you and things like that.
Okay.
But then you'll like you beat that level, you beat a boss, which the bosses are really cool and take up the whole screen, which is also pretty nice and effective.
Yeah.
And not easy. Until you get their patterns down. But then you'll go to a different time period. So you're kind of jumping through time, and each time period is in a different place of the world and kind of has its own theme,
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty ambitious for what it is. It's definitely, like, Megacat Studios has put out a bunch of games, and not just Genesis games. They put out, like, NES games and Game Boy games and stuff.
But always, like, kind of retro like that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
This one caught my eye more than the others just because I just, gravitate to this sort of, like, action-y retro stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm into it, and I've been playing it with that arcade stick that I got when I got Caprium.
Nice.
It's like a perfect mix for that, and I think that's also why I'm playing it so much, because it feels so good with it. So, yeah. And they're actually making another game called Phantom Gear. It's more like looks more like platformy, but they just ran a successful Kickstarter for it. So I'm kind of excited to see where they go next on that stuff too.
Yeah, that sounds rad. I'm definitely gonna have to check them out. And what's up with the Morph Cat, Mega Cat on the retro games? Yeah. We just talked about Micro Mages from Morph Cat recently.
Cats are good. That's why.
Yeah, that's funny. And it's actually also funny since you're talking about some like retro like Genesis or Sega stuff. I was actually wanting to mention real quick this game called Magnet Man Adventures. And this is a game from Ohsat Games, and that's OHSAT. But it's a game, and I think I talked about Spear on the podcast before from this developer, Spear with 2 E's and brackets around it actually. But yeah, it's like a really cool like 8-bit retro puzzle platformer, and like I know they've made some like tutorials of like how to like develop games for Mega Drive and Genesis and even a Master System.
That's
I think.
Sweet.
And the game they're currently
so cool.
working on, it's so cool. But yeah, the game they're currently working on is Go-Go Pogo Girl. But yeah, I ended up checking out this Magnet Man Adventures earlier today before we recorded the podcast, and there's 40 levels as well. And it's kind of like just a side-scrolling arcade platformer. Get to the end of each level. It keeps track of your time on each level. There's a nice save functionality. You can even go to a level select after, but you know, I had a little bit of issues on the graphical stuff, like just some hiccups on like I could see some of the outlines of things, like but it never hindered the gameplay. But it's got a really cool. You can run and jump to the side, you run left and right and jump, and then when there's anything metallic, you can either repel off of it or like kind of you can attract yourself to it or repel away from it. And it's really physicsy in that way, where like it's, you know, if you're right on top of the metal block and you hit to repel, you'll just jump kind of straight up and get launched upwards. Where if you hit it on like a diagonal 45-degree angle, you get launched to the side, and like you'll have to like clear gaps and like do it like over a spike pit, and like you got to there's all sorts of stuff where there's like lasers that you got to like grab, you know, attract like a metal block over your head that you can't necessarily move wherever you want, but you can just like hold it over your head and pull it side to side and like block the lasers so you can run underneath them, and like just gets really precision platformy. It's got some great tunes. Like it's got 4 different worlds with 10 levels each, that just like one song after, like every world has its own theme and tune, and just really cool. And every world kind of builds on the mechanics. Like the second world is like an ice world, and like you really can like utilize the metal blocks to like repel yourself away from them to like pick up speed on the ice and then launch yourself over a long gap. Like just some really, really creative level design. And especially after playing Spear and how impressed I was with that game and how like the level design in that game. And I still haven't finished that one. I think that one has 100 levels with either 4 or 5 worlds. It's definitely a little bit larger game. But yeah, just really cool that, like, again, since you were talking about the Sega stuff, I just figured, hey, why not?
Oh, yeah.
Bring this one up, because, Magnet Man Adventures, I just had a blast playing that before this. And some really
nice,
some clever stuff where I got stumped a few times. So really, really cool stuff. But John, we've been hogging the floor here for a little bit, so why don't we toss it your way? What have you been playing this week?
I am proud to say that I have now played my new file of Stardew Valley for longer than my original file.
Ooh.
Which means I've put at least a runtime of over 300 hours.
At least,
my man.
To Stardew Valley. I did get to play with on my multiplayer farm named Skyrim. Which is again just being as stereotypically John as I can possibly.
Well, it's fitting. Those are probably your 2 most played games on the Switch,
right?
God, could be.
Yeah,
honestly,
gotta be. But
for my newest save file in Stardew Valley, I have now successfully gotten to the point. I think I may not quite be to the same point in terms of like year. I think I may have spent a little bit more time just leaving the system running while I'm doing something else.
As you do with the Switch.
for sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. As I constantly...
Cooking up that calamari.
Oh, yeah. But I have gotten basically to the same point, like functionally in terms of like progress in the game. But that now also means that I'm into pretty much like brand new content for me. Like before I was still, you know, kind of playing the base game or whatnot with the few little improvements that had gone there. But now I am fully into stuff that is like brand new to me personally. It's been out for, you know, PCs for a bit, but in terms of console, like this is the 1.5 era. And
big one.
Man, there is again, like I'm just continuously say there's so much content in this game. There is so much to do, and I'm in like you get to a point when you unlock the island, which is a completely separate area where you can have a second satellite farm.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I gotta fire this game back up.
It's so
You just got
good.
me so pumped. You just don't even know how pumped you just got me.
Dude, but also the island has its own mechanics, which are like kind of little mini quests. Like when you first get there, like everything's closed off, but there are, you know, little areas that have like circles in the ground or like things that are clearly like, you know, guiding you towards digging in an area, or you can see this one boulder that moves and you know that you just have to place a bomb there. And as you're doing that, you are unlocking golden walnuts, which you feed to the parrots on the island, And then the parrots will unlock either a new area or rebuild the farm for you, or create a warp totem back to your own personal farm.
Nice.
So, it's that, just like in terms of content, raw content from that is like enough to keep me occupied for another 100 hours or so. But there's also, I have unlocked Mr. Key or Mr. Chi. I don't know. It's QI.
Okay.
But he is this kind of, there's not really mythical characters in this game, but he's a mysterious.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's supernatural like the wizard or the witch.
Right.
But he has his fingerprints, and he like gives you little tasks. But basically, once you get to his area, he's like, "Oh, you really like being a completionist in games, don't you?"
Oh no!
And he just gives you a whole new set of tasks. And like, one of the things that had been added since I played my initial playthrough was a specialty job board or request board. And that would unlock certain items, and that wasn't there when I first played the game. But that is like, you would get requests in addition to, like, there were like daily requests that you could get for quests, but these were special ones that could take over the course of a week or a month. And it would be like, why don't you ship 100 of this like type of plant, or why don't you gather 1,000 wood in a week? And like, those themselves were actually pretty challenging. You kind of had to like give up on doing other stuff and just dedicate yourself to like completing those tasks.
I kind of like that.
Right.
But like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. But the Mr. like Keys like quests are a whole nother level. Like, there's one where it's like you have to reach I think 100 levels in the desert dungeon without eating. Oh my god!
Anything. And that desert dungeon is brutal.
Right, exactly. And it's not like you can like infinitely level up your HP. You have like a set amount.
Dang.
Oh, gosh.
So it's just like entirely I haven't done any of them yet because they're just so much. But I did end up beating there's a secondary dungeon on the island that's the volcano, and it's only 10 levels, but it unlocks the forge at the top of the volcano where you can combine rings so that they do different things. You can you can add attributes to your tools and to your weapons. It's
insane.
This game is
wild.
So
That's because
there's so much content.
It's crazy, and it's not just like filler content. You know, it's like it's cool stuff.
No.
And again, you can do what you want to do. It's really cool.
And it's been 5 years. Like, I had a completely like satisfying experience with this game with its like initial release.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
And they're adding all this for free.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So cool.
God. It's such a good game. It's honestly, I think, one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I can unequivocally say that at this point, just because there's not anything that I've played that's as satisfying, and I don't know, it's very therapeutic, and at a time that I needed a therapy game.
Seems like a really good match for Switch that way too.
Absolutely.
Laying in bed and whatever.
The accessibility of just booting something like that.
Have you had any chance to play it more online, John?
Yeah, I played one more time online since my first time. And man, this game does appeal to the worst side of me at times, where I'm, dedicating an entire day moving my entire farmable area one tile square over.
I do that too.
Yes. And
just like you did in Animal Crossing, basically.
Just exactly like I did multiple at least, I didn't have to wait real life days in order to do that. Like I did in Animal Crossing. Good Lord, I can't believe
But no, when your farm is like a little out of whack.
I 100%
when your farm's a little off, you're like, no. The beans are supposed to go here, not there. You got to move them over a row.
They need to be there, and it needs to be, I need to have 2 tiles for the
maximum efficiency.
Yeah, pathway that I've. Yeah, oh my God, it's not good.
That's hilarious.
But yes, in keeping with my worst tendencies in playing a game, like this. I was playing with my friends, and I was being very clear that I'm like, we don't have to do this, and you can tell me I'm being insane, but can we please put all of the harvestable, craftable items in this chest? The next chest over, can we do the ones that we've at least crafted one stage of?
Yeah, you got to organize.
But, like, again, it's my system. It's completely arbitrary. It has no, like, it's just, like, I'm glad that I had friends.
It's your farm.
Yeah, no, but not for the multiplayer one online.
Okay.
But I did have friends that could at least call me on my bullshit and be like, "No, you're being an idiot. Stop."
That sounds like me playing Overcooked, just screaming at people, "Get the orders right!"
Oh my god,
that game is so stressful.
Yeah.
In a good way.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, I get stressed out too, especially from my restaurant experience. It's just like, this is too real, man.
Luckily, I don't have any farming experience.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm just normal, insufferable.
Yeah.
You can just enjoy it.
Well, real quick before we wrap up tonight, too, I just wanted to give a quick shout out. I know I mentioned kind of streaming the self playthrough with the challenge mode and the update, but Randall and I were able to jump on and play some Wild Guns co-op. We had a little bit of a hiccup on the audio, and actually, yeah, John jumped in on the call too at some point. Was chatting while what were you playing while we were playing Wild Guns?
I was playing Apex Legends on the Switch.
That's right.
Being absolutely abysmal at it.
But how's it running? How's it running on the Switch?
It's honestly running really good, and I don't know if they've dedicated extra servers to like the rollout or whatnot.
Or some kind of cloud thing, yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
I'm excited. We need to sync up on that because it's cross-platform. It's something.
Yeah,
I think it's teams of 3 or 4 or 2. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's definitely a team-based
2 or 3
thing. So. Man, I really want to check that out. But yeah, I had a blast. Randall and I got to, I think, the last stage, unless there's some kind of secret, Dr. Wily area or something. Yeah, but it seems like, when we get to the level, it says final fight. It's the same stage my brother and I got to as well, which I think we mentioned when we talked about Wild Guns, Randall and I a couple weeks back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just had a really good time. It was fun to get the stream up and going. And we've like in the past, I just used to kind of boot up the streams and like, as I recorded videos for our YouTube channel, like, I'm going to showcase this indie game. I might as well stream it in case anybody happens to see it. But like,
totally
have received a few comments where like people are like, oh, you're not interacting with the chat. Like, notice like Zed Squadron mentioned like, oh yeah, I used to duck into the streams, but like notice you never talk to the chat, so I stopped watching. So I've tried to like use like the YouTube more as like let's indie feature, shorter video, and then if we feel like doing like a stream, hanging out, watching the chat and stuff, we'll do that on Twitch. So it was a lot of fun hanging out. I think Securus jumped in for a little while.
Yeah.
Who's another one of our favorite little indie developers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a ton of fun. But yeah, what were you thinking of? Because I know that's the deepest you've gotten into Wild Guns, Randall.
It is. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And same here for me. Yeah, I just happened to do it with my brother like a week before.
Oh no. Yeah. Like that game is difficult and like a little bit easier 2-player, I would say.
Yeah. Almost made for 2-player. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool. And yeah, another one of those really expensive actual Super Nintendo cartridges. So like unavailable, like just like we were talking about with Fire and Ice and NES before. Like prohibitively expensive, so never really bothered experiencing it and then I got reloaded, so I'm like, I'll play this. But now playing the original and having that available on the Super Nintendo online is such a cool thing. Oh my god, it's great. That was a lot of fun.
It was a blast. We definitely got to do that some more, because I know we were talking before we started streaming. We were like, Randall and I, when we would hang out back in the day, because like I'd be coming home from Chicago, or like we'd see each other a few times a year, and we'd be like, okay, when we hang out, we're beating a game. We might start doing that on streams here and there. Maybe we won't beat it in one sitting like we used to. I don't know if we have to stand up till 7 a.m. drinking Balls energy drinks in us anymore. But
those days are completed.
Yeah, those days are far behind us. We're drinking whiskey and falling asleep early, I think.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think we're going to try to do some more streaming, like chilling and watching the chat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was a ton of fun. And so cool. Like, again, Reloaded has all those extra, like, included characters and new updates. But even going back to the Super Nintendo, it's lacking a little in that sense, but it's still a fucking awesome game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's totally my type of game. So yeah. I love that it's on there. I had a ton of fun, and yeah, no issues with lag or anything like that.
Yeah, we had a great, even while streaming, like no internet issues. But I did just get a new router, so that might be helping the cause. Yeah, but since we're talking about streaming too, I wanted to mention this game called Aztec Ride, and it's actually Quetzalcoatl, I think is how you say it. I don't know, but it's like got this really cool like black, white, and orange pixel art style, but like really clean. And I think it was another Game Jam game for Ludum Dare 47 was what it was originally made for. It's from a team of like a bunch of like individual developers, but they ended up releasing it on Android. I don't know if it's a purchasable game on the Google Play Store or whatever, but I made it to level 30 like earlier today making a video, and I was like, I'm definitely going to stream some of this. It's really cool. You basically have like these arcadey levels, and it looks like there's maybe 100 levels in the game, I would guess. And you basically can just control the speed of your roller coaster left and right. It's a 2D side-scrolling thing. But then, like, when you hit, like, a ramp or, like, it's really physicsy. And, like, the passengers in your cart, you have 15 passengers in the coaster, and they'll go flying out of the coaster. But if you catch them, you get more fuel that you can use to move either forwards or backwards. So it's like, it's all about just, like, it's really wild. It's got a really great aesthetic and music, and, like, it's just really fun. It just seemed like, I was like, yeah, this would be fun. Like, I'm already starting to get my ass kicked, and, like, now that I got to level 20 or so this could be a fun one to stream. So yeah. I probably will pick up from level 30 and keep going from there. And it's got like, it's the type of game where it's like, if you can finish the level with all 15 passengers, you get a 3-star ranking.
Okay.
If you finish it with no passengers, you get a 1-star, and there's kind of somewhere in between.
Right.
For the 2-star, but really, really cool concept, really fun, really simple, gameplay, just left and right. And that's pretty much it.
Nice.
And a button to restart the level if you get stuck or lose too many passengers. But really fun arcade game if you're into that stuff. Yeah, really, really cool. I just love what people can do with these game jams. But I think if you guys are feeling good, I think we can pretty much call it there for the week, guys.
Feeling great.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Well, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. We got a nice, convenient place to find all our stuff at linktree/pursuingpixels. But otherwise, we're on Twitch, like we said. We're on YouTube, Discord.
Yes, sir.
Discord, that's definitely been growing, and we've kind of branched out the communities, or not the communities, but we've organized it a little bit better, I think. So, definitely jump in. Let us know some stuff that we should check out, or
chat with us.
Let us know anything. Let us know what we can do better. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
But I really should just like record a snippet of some, quiet, like overnight, just record like an hour of silence.
Oh man, that's a Decibel song. I don't know if you know. They were.
I know them. I don't know, like not super well, but
they have a song that I fucking love that's called "An Hour of Noise," and it just is like a crescendo of like the lead singer like singing in falsetto while like the rest of the band is like screaming in the background, and I'm like, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. By the way, John, I listened to "I Want to Be Well" from Sufjan Stevens. Well, actually, I listened to that whole album. I think I stopped it in the middle of that 25-minute song at the end.
Coward.
I love it, but I was I want to shift the vibe. But I was like at the end again, I was like, man, we should have covered this song. I know you always said that.
We still can.
But
and I think
I know. Especially if I can start getting back in my body in order, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm not fucking around. I was getting so pumped in my kitchen while I was doing the dishes.
Dude, I worked out what the harmonies would be. Like you'd be singing the lead while I'm just singing "I Want to Be Well."
It's so. Do you know that song, Randall?
I do not know that song.
Do you know that? Cool. You know Sufjan, right?
Oh, of course.
Do you know "Age of Odds," the album?
We've talked about this before. I have not listened to it.
It's like an all-time, man. It's so good. I forgot how many good songs there are. Yeah. Vesuvius
is incredible.
The way that song builds. And then it's like, Sufjan. Oh, it's so good.
No, it's Sufjan. He says
well, they say Vesuvius, but they do. He says Sufjan at the end of the song. They say it a few times.
All right.
Unless I'm just mishearing it, but I swear he's like
singing his name.
Follow the path. or what? I don't know. They definitely say it a couple times.
If I had it on vinyl, I would have listened to it already.
I do have it on vinyl. And again, which pisses me off because when we made our vinyl, even like the 12-inch vinyls, they were like, you can only fit 18 minutes on a side. I'm like, I own a vinyl that has a 25-minute song on a side.
Yeah.
Tell me how that's possible. I guess Sufjan just gets to pull some strings.
Oh, that's right.
He's like, hey.
But wasn't that the whole thing? Was that like it degrades the further
I was
it gets?
about to
say. Maybe he just said, okay, I guess. But 18 was like they were saying like, do 12 for maximum quality. Like 18 is like, don't go beyond that. Like,
and it was also a 10-inch.
No, this is ours.
Yeah.
But the 12 inches, I think, were like 8. I think 10-inch was like 12 minutes was like max.
Weird.
It was something great, like where I was like, dude, I own a ton of vinyls that are way longer than this.
Also, maybe it was just like, I don't know, they're like snobs about rules. Like, oh, you can't, like, we won't put out something of that quality. Like, we have a hard limit.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, man, I know it doesn't matter the thickness as far as the quality, but it's more like durability, I guess. But like those Age of Odds vinyls are thick.
Oh, I'm about that. I get psyched with a 180 or higher gram.
Oh yeah, when you feel it and you're just like, this thing doesn't have any flex to it. I mean, obviously, if you tried to, you could bend it a little, but like you just a record, you can kind of flop it around.
Yeah,
like an
just
old
a
school
slab of granite.
Yeah, really, that's what it almost feels like. It's awesome.
That's not bad. You can get it $24 on his website. That's actually pretty reasonable.
I think that's actually where I got it from. Yeah. And it's like legit vinyls. A double album.
Yeah.
Like it's like, over an hour long. So good stuff.
All
right. You guys ready to roll?
Yes.
Yes, sir.